Hi everybody, I wanted to talk to you today about living with intention. Now you might have seen in my last video that I talked about why you needn't worry about the future, and I shared some personal experiences about things that happened in my past that were not how I wanted them to be, and how ultimately they led me to a really good place. And had I got my way at the point in time, then I wouldn't have ended up where I am, and that's actually for the better. But the reason I want to talk about intentional living today is because I feel not worrying about the future is very different to living your life with intention. And what I mean by that is there is a lot of people, understandably, and I was definitely one of them, who kind of just allowed life to happen to them. Now, what can happen in that instance is you can kind of wake up in 4 years' time and find yourself living a life that you never really planned. That was absolutely my experience. I was unhappy on the surface. I had lots of things that people wanted, a very senior job, a very big salary, and the kind of trappings that came with that, but I really wasn't happy. Now, what I've learned from that process is it's really important to think about what it actually is that I do want. So I asked a question on my Insta stories this week of, if your life, with the exception of COVID, was the same 3 years from today, would you be okay with that? Now, it's early days, I only asked it about an hour ago, but the people who have replied, there is significantly more people have said, oh no, I wouldn't be happy with that at all, than have said yes, they would be fine. Now, my next question is going to be on my Insta stories. What action are you taking? Because the really important thing is, if things are not as we want them to be, if we don't take action to change them, then absolutely in 3 years' time, situation will be as it is now and no different. And the reason why I think intentional living is really important is because it's about living on purpose. And studies tell us that the happiest people are those who have a purpose. Now, it will change over time, and of course not everybody wants to be really intentional about what they do, but from a kind of happiness point of view, I think that it is really important. Now, I'm also a believer that we can do anything that we want to do if we put our mind to it and get to work. I honestly believe that so many things are possible. I know that because I've proved it in my own life. If I had known 5 years ago that I was going to be running a successful coaching business, that I was going to be eventing, that I'd show jumped at 1 meter 15 before I changed to eventing, that I was doing dressage at a level that I would never have dreamt of, that's proof that anything is possible. All of those things that I've done though, I had made a decision that it was important to me, I put the work in and I made it happen. Now, I'm not kind of holding myself up as this kind of person who achieves everything that, you know, is impossible to others. What I'm saying is, they're things that 5 years ago I didn't believe were possible for me, but I chose to make them reality and I put the work in. Some areas I worked harder than others, but the fact was I chose that I wanted that in my life and I made it happen. And because I am an entirely normal person, I know that it is possible for everybody else too. I also know how fast time is flying by, and I want to encourage other people to not end up in the situation that I was, that I just kind of was in on the corporate merry-go-round, kind of making decisions, not taking time out, not living a happy life. I wasn't particularly well in myself, certainly not in my mental well-being, and physically I wasn't well either. I wasn't kind of ill, but I certainly wasn't healthy, and I felt it in myself. Now, because I'm living on purpose, I'm doing work that I love, and I'm doing the things that are important to me, life is so much better. I know sometimes it can be scary to make a massive change, and you don't need to make a huge change. It's just about looking at which area of your life makes you go, oh, when you think about it being the same 3 years from now, and then looking into how can I change that. The work that I do with people is understanding what might be possible. I've worked with plenty of people who've come in and gone, oh, I want to change something, but I don't know what and I don't know how. The what and the how are not necessary. Knowing that you want to change something and being willing to make it happen is the most important thing. The other thing that's really important when we start to think about our future self, so let's use us 3 years from now, as that's the analogy I started with. It's about committing to that version of you. So what tends to happen when we feel a bit ugh is we take decisions that will make us feel better in the very short term. But those decisions tend to keep us stuck. So for example, if you are wanting to get promoted in your role, or even get qualification to start a new business, there's a lot of effort that goes with getting qualified in something, and therefore if you're feeling like life is busy, you might go, well, it's not the right time now, so I'm going to put it off. But my question would be, well, is there ever a right time for that? We make time for things that are important to us, and in making decisions it's really important to think, does this serve what I'm wanting to achieve for me 3 years from now? And I will often say in my posts, do something today that your future self will thank you for. So rather than making a decision in the moment when we feel tired and we've had a difficult week that kind of puts us back, maybe it's weight loss and you decide you're going to order a takeaway rather than cook something that you made yourself from the batch cooking that I advise doing. Yes, in the moment it might feel good, but it's going to put you back on your goals. That sort of food means that your energy is affected. You're therefore more likely to make worse decisions tomorrow. I'm not saying you have to eat clean 100% of the time, and for sure I don't. However, recognizing when you look to take a decision, however small or however big, does it support you in what it is that you're trying to achieve? We make choices every single day, and those choices define who we are. You may have heard it said, we are the sum of the people we spend, the 5 people that we spend most of our time with. And that's true. The most important thing is what's going on between your ears. If you are sleeping well, eating well, hydrated, exercising, you will feel good, and it will be far easier to make those decisions. And when you look back 3 years from now, you'll be really thankful that you did. So intentional living and actually getting into, what do I want in my future? And maybe it's not realistic to get everything that you want 3 years from now. However, you absolutely can take action to take steps that will get you on the road. And the thing about taking action, and particularly the things around positive habits that I just talked about, exercise, hydration, sleep, good habits breed other good habits. So you'll be doing yourself a huge favour just by starting to take steps towards where you ultimately want to be. If you would like some help to make this an awful lot easier, this is part of the work that I do with clients. So feel free to get in touch and we can talk about what I can help you with.